Usually, you don't really start out with saying, okay, let's do an M&A. It's more like, okay, there's another, there's a certain burn rate and your runway, you see the end of your runway and you say, okay, it's time to do fundraising again. And the M&A is just one of many options you can do, alternative to just raising another fund from whoever VC, for example. And but of course you have to be open to getting fundraising from CVC, for example. So this is just not speaking specifically about any case, but including the ones that I experienced at SoftBank. And usually also the buying company, which is usually a big corporation, of course, most of the time they don't go out and say, okay, let's go buy a company. It's mostly the case that they say, okay, let's invest in some startups. And so these companies, the big corporations that want to invest in startups, they usually call like CVC or corporate venture capital. And there's usually a team of, these finance department people, or maybe they have brought in from someone else with, more expertise in the startup environment. And then they say, okay, we want to enhance our business portfolio, and we know that our own new business development department is not as strong, or we don't have the right kind of people to build a new business. So why don't we just acquire one, or sort of invest in a company? And basically, by investing into a startup, they can basically say, okay, now we have a bit closer relationship than all the other potential business partnerships. So you kind of try to buddy up with the startup and say, we sort of have an exclusive deal or something, that kind of stuff, right? So, and usually they just invest, usually a minority stake or even a majority stake, so meaning more than 50%. And by doing so, they kind of get a lot of information from that startup. Because if you are an investor, you get to see all the sort of financial materials and how the company is actually performing. You get to have a seat in the board meeting, for example. So you get to have a lot of information and insight about if that company actually is, working, and if they're actually going to be successful. So you get a lot of information basically, and can sort of assess, whether it's worth to buy, for example.
It's like a pre-buy kind of risk management.
Exactly. Right. So usually you start with that one. And then when you gain confidence, this is definitely a good company, and it's a great product, the customers are happy, and that kind of stuff. Then they say, okay, let's buy. So usually you go through these steps until you actually buy a company.